All right, we are back. Final episode of 2021. I guess by the time you listen to this, it's a new year, so it doesn't even matter. But we are back. Some news. Kind of surprising. Kyle Seager has announced his retirement from the league after 11 seasons, all with Seattle. It's funny. I feel like we've actually talked a decent amount about him, like this offseason. And when they're like, "Oh, where's Seattle not going to sign?" Well, he's gone anyway,
Right.
so he's not playing
Yeah.
baseball. Finished his career with 251 average, 242 homers, 807 RBIs, 763 OPS. Decent.
Pretty solid, man. I mean, again, like he was never a superstar or anything like that, but I think even like a casual fan, I feel like knew his name even before like Corey Seager was in the league.
Yeah.
Like I think people knew the Seager name for a while now. I mean, dude, he was just a consistent player. Like his average stats over 162, he would hit 251, 26 homers, 88 RBIs, and 763 OPS. Um, I mean, that's not superstar, but I'll take that from a third baseman any day.
No, yeah.
It's literally average. I think above average numbers, and it's consistent because, I mean, he was an all-star and a Gold Glover once, so each once for each in 2014, but he finished in the top 20 MVP twice. He was 12th in 2016 and 20th in 2014. So again, it's not like it's top three MVP, but for a team like Seattle to be in the MVP talks, I think that's kind of tells you what kind of years he actually had because again, Seattle's obviously never been in the playoffs since 2001. So
Yeah.
um I found it interesting because he's only 34 and I thought that he definitely had a lot more left in the tank.
Well, I guess it's kind of like Buster Posey, right? They're both kind of
Mhm.
going out on a really high note. So, I mean, this year Seager, 35 homers, 101 RBIs, like arguably his best season. And he's kind of going out on that. And I kind of respect it. Like I want to go until he's like 38 and like
Right.
barely producing. He just kind of holding up a spot on the Mariners. Like I respect it honestly.
Yeah, I do too. I think like he has, I believe he has like a wife and kids and stuff. Like when you see
Yeah.
this stuff with Posey talked about it, like he just wants to be around his kids and stuff like that. And like again, what are you gonna say to that? Of course you respect that. Of course we all respect that decision. It's just man, right when Seattle looks like they're finally like on the uptick here, like they could possibly make the playoffs next year. Like it wouldn't necessarily surprise anybody if they made the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Seager on a playoff team with
Mm-hmm.
Seattle because he deserved it after all those years, especially after what happened this year in like the last weekend when like
We're
they were playing
close,
for it
man.
and like they almost made it and like he just missed. But it's his choice. So what a career, man, really.
Yeah, no, solid. Him definitely gonna remember him as being
Yeah.
just like a staple at third base. Really, played. He played less than 154 games once, so like he was on the field all the time.
Yeah, I mean, think about that, man. Third base, and you're playing like 150 something games a year at least. And I believe in the shortened season, he played all 60 games also. So
Hmm.
he plays every single day. And like I think it was good for him to be in the American League too, because you did see some days where they DH'd him. So
Yeah,
like that
true.
helped him stay on the field. But man, it's just that these are some teams. I don't know. We might get into this at some point in the future, but some of these Seattle teams should have been better. Because there were years where it was Cano, Seager, and
Cruz,
Nelson
right?
Cruz, and I
Yeah,
believe they had like Gene Segura too.
they were
Like they had
decent.
their lineup was so good, and they never made it anywhere. They had Mitch Haniger. I mean, come on, that was just not fair that they weren't making it into the playoffs.
No, yeah, I don't think this was the same exact era, but remember King Felix
Yeah,
was
I
just a
think he was
beast
on
out
some
there.
Seager teams, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, they had like that back in those days. It was like Iwakuma, I think, was another guy there they had. Um, So, man, I mean, Seattle fans love Kyle Seager. I know that. I know that it's kind of like he's tucked away up there, but
Yeah.
if you talk to any Seattle baseball fan, I guarantee you that they loved Kyle Seager. So, if there was anyone our age growing up in Seattle, he was probably one of like their favorite players to watch, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, true.
yeah. So Moving on, again, not much news to talk about, but in a recent interview with Buster Olney, he's a guy from ESPN. Everybody knows him if you watch Sunday Night Baseball.
Oh yeah.
So he says that he believes once the lockout is over, that the Yankees are going to end up trading for either Matt Olson or Matt Chapman from the A's. I thought the Chapman situation was pretty interesting. And here's what the Yankees think, apparently internally. This is what Olney has heard.
Okay.
They think that they would trade for Chapman and put him at shortstop.
Really?
Yeah, so at first I was a little thrown off with this. Obviously, he's one of the best defenders in the game, but he's pretty much only played third. But I mean, he's a great defender at third. Let's just look at his third base numbers alone. He's won Gold Gloves 3 out of the last 4 years. I believe he may have possibly won a Platinum Glove at some point. I'm not sure about that. I think he was close though. He's only played 4 MLB games at shortstop, so that's not really a sample size.
Remind me, who's the Yankees third baseman right now?
Gio Urshela. So
you're gonna. I don't get that. I'm not following that.
Well, because Chapman was actually, this is kind of interesting. He actually went to high school with Nolan Arenado, and he was 2 years younger than Arenado. So they were both on varsity together for like a few years. And one played third and one played short. And I think they kind of even rotated them around a little bit. So they both got playing time at each position. So, like, I think they kind of put him at third in Oakland because Semien was at short. Like, I think he quite possibly could have been the shortstop there had Semien not been there, because
I guess it's kind of like the Manny Machado situation in Baltimore, but like,
right.
I get it, but like, you're not going to move him because Gio Urshela?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that they could also go away where they just put Urshela at short too, because like Gio played short for us last year, the last month of the season, and in the wild card game, I believe.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like, you would prefer a guy who has played shortstop every day than either of these two at shortstop, I think, unless Chapman, you just throw him there and he's as good as he is at third. Like, but I don't think you can necessarily expect that. You know what I mean? Like, if he could be, it would be great. Like, I would love that. But like, I don't know if you can expect it. Like, I think if you make this trade, it's almost like you'll try it, but like, don't expect it to work and have a backup plan, like, somehow, because I don't know if it's like, I would love to have Chapman and Urshela, because like, let's say they're both defensively as good as they can be, and one of them is that good at short, like, that could arguably be the best defensive left side of the infield in the whole league. But like, you don't know. So like, I don't know how to view that.
Is Buster only just like really bored at his computer during lockout? He's just kind of making up shit. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, it's not impossible. I just like
no.
Never. I mean, crazier things have happened. I just, the logic seems not very sound to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, in my opinion, Olson makes more sense than Chapman, if we're going to be completely honest. Olson, left-handed first baseman, Yankee Stadium, built for Yankee Stadium. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The dude averages 40 homers and 105 RBIs per season playing in Oakland. I mean, if he goes to the Bronx, he's going to hit 60 homers. Like, honestly, if he stays healthy, I don't think that's an exaggeration. I mean, the dude rakes in a big ballpark like Oakland, plus in that division, Seattle's a big ballpark. I know Houston and Texas are good hitting ballparks, but
yeah,
still, I mean, I don't know. I think Olson just kind of fits the New York mold, because not that I want Voit to go anywhere either, because I'm a big Luke Voit guy, but I think we kind of need a left-handed guy there. I don't know if that means Voit gets traded or not. I don't really know what happens there. In my opinion, you trade for Olson, you have an outfield of Stanton, Judge, and Hicks, and you put Voit at DH. But I don't know if they're going to do that.
Do you think Anthony Rizzo's out of the picture?
I think we have a better shot at getting Olson than we do Rizzo. Honestly, I think the Yankees would prefer to get Olson, and I think being we didn't do anything before the lockout, I know we've talked about this a lot, that we should have done something, but I think it's because they have the plan in mind that right when it ends, they're probably going to trade for Olson, I think. I would assume so, because that would kind of ease the fans a little bit too. I think getting
Mhm.
Rizzo, a lot of people would enjoy, but I think more people would want Olsen. He's younger. He's honestly a better player at this point in his career. Rizzo is a great clubhouse guy, but like he's not as good as he used to be. I think Olsen is a lot better. And Olsen has played in the playoffs too. It's not like you're going out and getting a guy that hasn't. I know Rizzo has a lot of playoff pedigree and stuff, but Olsen's actually had some time in the playoffs with the A's back in the day. So I don't know. I think Olsen is a better option than Chapman. I think it's more likely, to be honest with you.
Right. I mean, at least as far as position wise goes. Huh. I mean, guess we'll
Who
see.
knows? Maybe we'll trade for both of them. I don't think the A's.
Maybe,
All
I'm sure.
right, so we're just gonna talk a little bit about like expansion teams, maybe in MLB in like the future. Obviously, the CBA negotiations are going on. Might as well talk about expansion teams. You know what I mean?
Why
Why
not?
can't that be a point to talk about? We've seen, especially in the NHL recently, but we've seen some expansion teams in leagues the past 20 years. But in the NHL, obviously the Vegas Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah.
The first year the Knights were a team, they made it to the Stanley Cup and almost won.
They were
And
nice.
then
Yeah. I mean, they still are,
Seattle
but
is,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, they've been good ever since. That's kind of odd. I feel like you don't usually see that with expansion teams either, especially in baseball. We haven't really. And then like Seattle, we'll see what happens at the end of the year with Seattle and hockey this year. But yeah, MLB hasn't had an expansion team since '97. That year it was the Rays and the Diamondbacks were both added. So the Diamondbacks did win the World Series in 2001.
I was
So it
about to
didn't take
say
them that
so
long.
they turned around pretty quickly then. Huh.
Yeah, but the Rays, on the other hand, were not very good until we were like kids. I don't think.
Yeah, it
Probably the
took a little
late,
longer. Yeah.
now maybe around 2010 is when I think actually they were in the World Series in 2008. So it took a little bit longer for them. But
Yeah.
still, I mean, obviously, like other teams that were expansion teams, the Rockies, you didn't really see much from them for a while. You know, once the Nationals became the Nationals, you didn't see much from them either. So I think it's interesting. But I think a big talking point in baseball right now is how the sport can grow. And like, if you make expansion teams, that's obviously going to grow the sport to other cities. And, to me, I just think that there are so many good choices out there. Whether it's because there are sports teams from other sports there, or just because it makes sense to have a baseball team in certain locations that
Yeah.
they don't have one in. Like, I mean, I went to school in North Carolina. The Carolinas should have a baseball team, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I just don't
Yeah. I
see
mean, they
why they
have
don't.
basically every other sport.
So that's one thing. But I think if MLB really wanted to, I think they should add two teams at once, honestly, because then they would add one team. It would be like 31 teams. That would just throw everything off. I think they kind of would have to add two. It just makes the
Right.
most sense because we saw hockey do it with Vegas, and then it was 31 teams until this year. It was just kind of weird. I think football went through that at some point too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think adding two teams is better. But man, there's a pretty decent list of cities that I think would be good. Some of them have been talked about a lot by people as top choices, but right now we're each going to give you like three of our top choices. So if you were to go, we're going to go 3-1 order, one being the city we think should get the first team.
Okay.
Who would you go with first?
I think it'd be cool to add Canadian teams again. I don't know why. Why are the Blue Jays the only one? I feel like you have none or like a bunch. So I would say give Montreal their team back. Give them like the
Yeah.
Expos
Okay.
back, or it doesn't have to be Expos, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that'd be, cool. What about you? What's your first team?
Yeah. Montreal would be cool. Obviously, like we saw some cool games back in the day with their weird mascot. That was just like a strange stadium too, but everything about it was
I've
really
never seen
cool.
their mascot. Is it weird?
Yeah, I forget what his name was, but he's very strange. Like it has nothing to do with anything. It's almost like the green, not even the green monster. It's almost like the fanatic or something like that, where it's just really weird. I forget what it's
Baseball like
called,
some
but
weird mascots. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love baseball in Canada too. I've always thought Toronto was a great baseball city.
Yeah.
But man, I'm gonna stick to it, and I'm gonna say a Carolina team should be in baseball. So I'm gonna say Charlotte would be a better location than Raleigh.
Okay.
Just because Charlotte already has the Hornets and the Panthers. Raleigh only has the Hurricanes in hockey. I think
Okay.
Charlotte's just a better up and coming city at the moment. Um, and North Carolina was like the state that was first in flight or whatever. So I think you go with the Aviators as the name. I think that would be a
Oh, you
pretty
got a
cool
name.
name
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. I think again, I mean, I lived in North Carolina for 4 years, man. They need a baseball team. They have so many other teams, and you'd think that baseball would be like the main team that they have there because it's nice weather during the summer.
No, yeah.
It's basically the same weather as Atlanta, honestly. So I just always thought it was strange that they didn't have an actual team. They have a bunch of minor league teams, like they
Okay.
have the Durham Bulls is in right near Raleigh actually, but and then South Carolina has like the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. I think it's a minor league team too. So
Okay.
get them a big league team now. I would like that.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
For my second team, I feel like I kind of want to stick with Canada. I want to get Canada more teams. I'll go Vancouver. Now, like, I know nothing about Vancouver. I always picture it as like really snowy and cold, which could be completely wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess it doesn't really fit the baseball mold, but you know, why not? I give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, get growing in Canada. I want to see more teams there.
Yeah. I mean, that would be cool too, because we always hear about teams like, I mean, Seattle has no teams like near them. And I think Vancouver would be honestly the closest city to Seattle. So that would be
Yeah, they
kind
could
of
almost have
an
like a little
easier flight
rivalry.
for them too. Yeah, like that would be kind of cool. Plus, we've never seen like a West Coast Canadian baseball team. It's always either been Montreal or Toronto,
That's
which is
true. That's
pretty
true.
much the East Coast or right. I think Montreal is closer to the middle, but yeah, I think Canadian they need more Canadian teams for sure because Canada, like it's like all of Canada roots for the Blue Jays. But it's like if they're over in like Vancouver,
That's
they're
so
like 3 hours
interesting.
off the time zone. It's just like so weird.
Like, imagine your country having one single team. I mean, in a way, that's kind of cool, though. Like, do you call you unite behind
Yeah,
one?
I
But
mean,
still, that's a little odd.
like last week we talked about them in the playoffs. I mean, it must have been pretty cool to have an entire country rooting for you in the playoffs. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah, no,
almost like the
definitely.
Olympics or something. So, um, yeah, I'm gonna go for my second team. I'm gonna move over to the West Coast, and I'm gonna say Vegas needs a team. um,
Vegas
I
has so
know,
many teams, bro.
dude, but that's exactly why they need a baseball team. I mean, we've already heard talks about the A's possibly moving to Vegas because of whatever the hell's going on with their stadium situation over there. Um, I know that Vegas has the Knights. The Raiders moved out there. Basketball will probably come soon. I think they need a
True.
baseball team. I mean, just the amount of players that have been coming from Vegas recently alone is a big reason why they should have a team.
That's true.
If you talk about guys, Bryce Harper,
I was about
Joey
to say
Gallo,
Harper. Yeah.
Chris Bryant, Tommy Pham, a bunch of guys. So
Hmm.
they were all about the same age. They all played together growing up, and they didn't have a team to root for in their city. So I think that it would be awesome for Nevada to have a team. Because man, you got a bunch of people going to Vegas for a weekend, and then there's a baseball game. Some baseball fans will go to a game, like you know what I mean. Go
Yeah.
to the game, then go back to the strip and go to a bunch of clubs and stuff. I mean, that's exactly what you do. So
Yeah.
I think they would make insane money. I mean, that would just be nuts. Only thing you'd have to worry about is really, really drunk fans coming into the
That's
stadium.
true. Yeah.
But still, I think it would be an awesome thing. And I believe they were called like the minor league team there was called what? The 51s or something, like Area 51s
Yeah.
out
Because I
there.
think the Mets had him at one point, and then they
Right.
switched. I think
Yeah.
something like
So
that.
I mean, I think it would be cool to stay with like the alien narrative for a name too. And but I would call them the
Yeah.
Martians, I think. Martians a little bit different.
Ooh, I like
Yeah.
that. That's kind of
Maybe
cool.
make it like green and purple, kind of cool color.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I think Vegas would just be an awesome place for a baseball team. So I'll go with that as my number two.
Okay.
So what's the city you think gets baseball the most, needs a team the most?
Oh, and these are the okay. I got the order mixed up, but I'll just say it anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to like. I'll say like Salt Lake City, maybe. I was gonna say
Okay.
Portland, but I guess that's pretty close to Seattle. I'll say give
Yeah.
Utah a team. I don't know. They got the Jazz already.
Yeah, right.
Might
So
as
the
well add
Jazz is the
to it.
only team there, right?
I think so.
right now. I think, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not like
Yeah.
gung ho behind it, but might as well give the
Yeah.
West another team.
Yeah, I think that would be a cool idea. I think it would be also cool to just add a team from like the East and the West, maybe. If
That's
they added
true. That's
two.
true.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Good thought.
go. I think Nashville would be an awesome place for a baseball team.
Hmm.
Um, right now they have the Predators in hockey. I think the Tennessee Titans play near Nashville, but they're not called Nashville, so I don't
Okay.
know exactly where they play in Tennessee. I don't think there's a basketball team in Tennessee, but to me, I know that Nashville is like known as like the country music capital of the world or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of baseball players that come out of the South in that area. So like I think they grow up knowing a lot of these famous people like singers or actors or whoever is from this area too. So like you'd see a bunch of famous people at the ballpark all the time. I think that would be
Hmm.
kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, Nashville, I've heard is a great city. We've seen it too when the Predators were in the Stanley Cup that time. That Nashville
Yeah.
was just like insane for hockey.
No, it was
Like
big.
Nashville
Yeah.
should not be really a hockey city, but it was insane. So think about what it would be like for baseball. I mean, I think that that would be really crazy. I don't know exactly what they would be called. I don't really know much about Nashville other than the musical part, so I don't
Yeah.
really know
Something
where to go
related to
there.
country
But
music. I don't even know. I don't really listen to it, so I don't know like
yeah,
what.
um, I don't know where we go with that, but I
We'll
think you can
think of
think of
something.
something. I mean, we've even seen teams like the St. Louis Blues in hockey, like they're just called the Blues because of music. Like Nashville could
That's a
think of
nice
something
name.
like that.
I've
So,
always liked that one.
yeah, but I think that I think that Vegas is the most likely, though, in my opinion, to happen next. What do you think is like actually most likely to happen?
Action most likely.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably Vegas. I really don't want it to be the A's. I feel like Oakland keeps on getting screwed
I know.
over by everyone. So
I
like
just
if
want
you
it to
give
be
me an
like an actual
expansion
new
team,
team.
then I'm cool with
Yeah.
it.
Um, man, though I think there are other cool places. Like you said, Portland. You mentioned that. Like obviously,
Yeah,
Portland only has the Trailblazers, I believe. So that would be cool for them to get another
I think
team
so.
there.
Yeah.
Also, I think another cool place would be New Orleans. I
Yeah,
don't know
definitely New
how
Orleans.
likely that is, but I think that would be cool. Also Oklahoma City because they only have the Thunder. I think that would be also cool because they probably have rivalries with Texas, with
That's
whether the
true.
Rangers or the Astros and stuff. Even like Albuquerque in New Mexico, I think would be a cool place.
Hmm.
I also think it would have been cool to have like maybe to put a team in Mexico somewhere. I don't know what city they would do that
Okay,
though.
that crossed my mind too. I was just thinking
Yeah.
like travel wise, but I mean you do it with Canada, might as well.
Right. And I think that like teams played there a couple years ago. I think it was the Dodgers and the Padres maybe or something. I think they
Oh,
played. I
you're
just don't
right.
remember what city it was. I don't know. It was like I thought it was Mexico City, but then I looked on a map and Mexico City is like 6 hours away from San Diego. So I don't think that's where it
Huh.
was. I think it was like right underneath the border somewhere because it was not that far from San Diego. But wherever it was, I think that would be a cool thing too. I just don't know. I don't know how hard it is to have international teams. Who knows
Yeah.
what goes on behind the scenes with that stuff. So
If that was a plausible option, that'd be my number one. I think Mexico would be pretty
yeah.
sick.
You know what I think would be really cool too? I don't know how many fans there would be, but an Alaska team.
No, Alaska.
That would be have like a dome there. They would just be like the weirdest team ever, but I think that would be so cool. So
Bro, you could do like
I don't know.
Hawaii, but like the travel would just
Right.
be ridiculous.
I know. Like that would be sick too, because like Hawaii, there's so many baseball players that come from there too, I feel like, and they don't have a professional team there either. So
And if we're really just going with this, the times the Yankees and Red Sox played in England were
yeah,
sick.
yeah.
Those were the crowds were huge, and it was
I
just like
know.
such. I don't know. There was like a different energy to it. So I mean, it would
Yeah,
never work with the travel, but
no.
like to get England the team.
I know. I remember I think a few years before that, like the Dodgers and I don't know who they played, but they played the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks played in Australia. That was pretty
Oh,
cool
did they
too.
really? Huh.
Yeah, they did. I think that was in like 14 or 15. And I think that crowd there was like sick too. They played at like a cricket stadium or something. It was really, really pretty cool.
Bro, what if you did like not like a team necessarily, but like a preseason game each year with the league in the Nippon Baseball League. That's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
like I
Japan.
don't know. It'd be sick to like face like the next Otani like in
I
their
know.
ballpark.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like they did do that sometimes too. Like they had like an exhibition thing or something there one time I remember where like I think a bunch of MLB players went. I don't know what
yeah.
year it was, but like Puig was there. I remember like a bunch of guys were there playing against them in like a 10 day thing or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, who knows? I mean, I think baseball just basically if they want to grow, get the expansion teams rolling, get that conversation going, and do as many international things as possible because they have done a lot in recent memory, but now obviously COVID has kind of put a damper on that. For now, we'll see
Yeah.
what happens. But you know, I think it would be ideal to make expansion teams become a reality. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. Once they get the CBA figured out, yeah.
yeah.
Well, we've been talking rosters of recent years that underachieved in the last like decade or so. So who's yours this week? What team you got?
Um, this week I'm going with the Angels from 2014.
Okay.
I know we don't really have a lot of good memory of the Angels being good at all recently, and this
No.
year they were actually really good. They had 98 wins this year, in
Damn.
2014. That does not even seem right, but it was. They won the division. I mean, just think about it. They had a 98 win team in a division. I guess the Astros weren't really there yet. I think the Astros
No.
made the playoffs for the first time after the rebuild in 2015. But like the A's were good at this time. I think the A's made the wild card that year, but like I don't know. The Rangers were pretty good still at this time too. So that was just kind of weird that the Angels did this. But if you think about it too, though, they had Trout. This was when Pujols was still pretty solid. Howie Kendrick was on the team this year. He led off. They had Cole Calhoun. Cole Calhoun was probably hitting. He was hitting about 20 homers a year at this point. He was probably at his peak here.
Hmm.
But man, this year Trout had 36 homers, 111 RBIs, 939 OPS, 16 stolen bases, and he played in 157 games. Those are the years we remember from him, and that we want to
Yeah.
see every single year. Um, but Pujols, man, this year had 28 homers, 105 RBIs, 790 OPS. Obviously not his St. Louis days, but that's still a pretty solid season from him. And he played in 159 games. So he
This was
pretty much
probably
played
before
almost
he
every
started to
day.
really decline, right? Like right before it.
Yeah, I think in 2015 was actually the year that he started to do a lot worse. So,
Okay.
um, but that's solid production. This was a team that had Josh Hamilton, but he only played in about 90 games because he got hurt. He was not the same as he was though. I mean, when he did play, he only had 10 homers that year, 745 OPS.
Hmm.
They had David Freese. I forgot they had David Freese.
All
He
right.
was their starting third baseman. I mean, he was never great, but he was always like a solid clubhouse guy. We know what he did in St. Louis in the playoffs. Obviously, him and Pujols were close as well.
Yeah.
Um, you know, he was just not. He was pretty much average, I would say. You just view him as an average third baseman. But this was back in the day where they had CJ Crone too. Crone only played about 80 games, but he was always a good player. And Eric Ibar was their shortstop. He was pretty good at defense and he was pretty fast. He had 16 stolen bases that year. So he played in 156 games too. So he played almost every day. And then
Okay.
Chris Iannetto was the everyday catcher. Really, he had 108 games, 765 OPS. What I found interesting about this, and I don't know for sure if the other teams we talked about, but every starting player in this lineup did not have an OPS below 700. I think
Hmm.
in a lot of other rosters we've talked about, there's been like at least one guy who had an OPS below 700. So I found that interesting.
Yeah, they sound very balanced. Like this definitely isn't
Right.
the best lineup we've gone over in the last few weeks, but they're pretty even, I'd say.
Like I feel like they complemented each other and like none of them were like really that bad of players. Like
Right.
I feel like
Right.
most of the times, like whether when I talked about the Marlins, it was like a Danny Echeverria, I think he was just not a good hitter ever. And
No,
like
right.
with this lineup, you can't really point anybody out who was like really that bad. Even Josh Hamilton and David Freese were like average at best. So I think that their lineup was pretty good. I think Trout did win the MVP that season too, I believe. Unless that was the last year that Miggy won, I don't know. But um, I think the bigger story about this team though was their starting rotation. They had Garrett Richards. This was his best year ever. He had a 2.61 ERA.
Dang, he used to be
164
nice.
strikeouts. This was actually though the year that he tore his ACL at the end of August, and then He ended up missing all of September, and he missed the playoffs. If Garrett Richards would have been healthy for the playoffs, I think that they would have had a better chance to beat the Royals, obviously.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Jared Weaver was still pretty good at this time too. He had a 3.59 ERA, and he started 34 games. I mean, that's a lot.
Forgot
Those
about
guys,
Jared Weaver. Wow.
yeah. I mean, he was pretty solid this year. Matt Shoemaker actually had a really good year this year. He had a 3.04 ERA. I know. 3.04 ERA from this dude on 27 starts. Are you kidding me? Like,
wow,
that's nuts. How is that not talked about more? I don't understand. I didn't even remember that.
No, I didn't remember he existed. Yeah.
Yeah. Another guy was Hector Santiago, another guy who people probably forget about. This year he had a 3.75 ERA. So that's pretty good from your 4-starter. I mean, I'll take that any day of the week. And then they had CJ Wilson still too, when he kind of signed that contract and never really lived up to it. But
yeah,
I mean, this year he had a 4.51 ERA, so not great, but he started 31 games. So at the very least, he gave them innings. And this was also Tyler Skaggs' rookie season. We all know what happened with Tyler Skaggs and stuff. I would have loved to see what he would have been able to do had he still been around. But this year he started 18 games. He had a 4.30 ERA. So it was his rookie season. He wasn't going to be in the rotation as an everyday guy anyway. I think he really filled in a lot when other guys were hurt. Whether it was once Richards was hurt or Shoemaker got hurt a little bit that year too. But man, that rotation, they had 4 guys with an ERA below 4. It's way better than people give it credit for this year, man. It was crazy. I don't understand how they should have probably won more than 98 games. I'm going to be completely honest.
No, I just forgot about this entire team and I knew obviously Trout was on Pujols, but damn, they're pretty good. It's hard to imagine a rotation this good now, considering all the struggles they've had.
I know all everyone says is that they need starting pitching. Well, this year they had starting pitching and they still didn't do it.
Yeah.
But again, Richards getting hurt kind of killed their playoff chances, I think. But another big story was their bullpen this year. Houston Street was hurt for a little while, but he had 17 saves and he had a 1.71 ERA. And Joe Smith was the setup guy, who is still currently playing. I believe he was on the Mariners this year. He had 15 saves, so he was pretty much the closer when Street was hurt, and he had a 1.81 ERA. So your 2 top guys both had ERAs below 2. That's pretty crazy to me as well.
Damn.
That we don't remember that a lot either, but they were so good. I mean, Houston Street, he didn't really get a lot of strikeouts, but he got so many ground ball double plays. He had a sinker, he had a really good sinker. This guy was an awesome pitcher. I remember he was with the Padres at first, I think, but then he went
I forgot about him. Yeah.
A few other Kevin Jepson, Mike Morin, and Fernando Salas all had ERAs below 4. Those were the other key guys in the bullpen. I mean, I just don't understand why this team shouldn't have gotten swept by the Royals. I know the Royals had the run where they swept the Angels, then I think they swept Baltimore after that, but still, I mean, I don't know. It was just, this team was good, man.
No, it's just annoying. A 3-game series, anything can happen. And
right.
Well, I mean, okay, 5 games, you know what I mean? But
yeah, right.
Damn, bro. The Royals were just, I mean, I don't know. Obviously the Mets play them. And
yeah, I mean, this
year
so
frustrating to play because there's no one on that team. It wasn't we lost to Trout, or we lost to Acuna or something. It was see this Escobar just beat us, or Eric Hosmer just beat. It was all these freaking pesky ass guys.
And who knows, man? If it wasn't for the Royals sweeping the Angels, we may have had a lot more Mike Trout postseason stuff to talk about. Because maybe this curse of Mike Trout not being in the playoffs would have never even started, and he would have been in the playoffs with the Angels for a few more years. I mean, I believe Mike Trout's playoff numbers are 1 for 14 with a 2-run homer. So he did hit a home run, but that's about it. I
can't even name a pitcher on the Royals that would have beat them that year. I really don't know.
Was James Shields still a Royal at this time? Maybe.
Or your Donald Ventura. Maybe.
Yes, he was on that. Yeah, he was on that team. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I can think of their bullpen. I can't think of starters. Obviously, they had Davis, Herrera, and
I know you're talking Holland.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
hate that
still.
team. I just hate that team so much.
But yeah, I mean, I think this Angels team really should have gone farther in the playoffs. They could have if they played anybody else, I feel like they might have. But again, Richards getting hurt kind of sucked for that. So
Yeah, that's a big
um,
what if. Damn.
yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go back to 2012. Another team like I kind of forgotten about. The 2012 Nationals had 98 wins, actually, and the best run differential in the league. So they were legit.
Really.
Um, and like a pretty balanced lineup again. Adam LaRoche, another low key guy.
Wow, I forgot
30,
about that dude.
yeah, 33 homers, 100 RBIs. Ryan Zimmerman, 25.95. Ian Desmond,
Mm,
25.83. You had a 19-year-old Bryce Harper, who like he was decent. He had 22 homers. He was a leadoff guy, so not a ton of RBIs.
yeah,
817 OPS. You had Jason Worth. He was hurt for a lot of the year, but then he came back for the playoffs. He was pretty good.
yeah.
Um, so it wasn't an amazing lineup. It was pretty balanced, 1 through 9.
Hmm.
Um, then rotation wise, Gio Gonzalez, 289 ERA, over 200 Ks. Jordan Zimmerman, before he just like fell off a cliff, was at a 294. Ross Detweiler, 3.4.
Wow.
And then probably the most interesting of them all, Steven Strasburg, 316 ERA, was still, I feel like he was still kind of coming into his own. He was pretty young, but they shut him down
Right.
at, I think, 159 innings. And that's a big what if. Like, you never know what this team would have done if they, and I mean, obviously, what they won in 19. So, like, I guess you don't really
Yeah.
look back too badly, but like, you never know, man.
I remember this team. Now that you're bringing up that stuff, this is all bringing back memories for me. I remember watching that on ESPN and MLB Network. Like it was a huge story at the time that he wasn't going to pitch in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Was this also the year I think that the Nationals lost to the Giants in the playoffs that year? I believe,
I believe
unless
it's
they
the
played somebody
Cardinals. It was the
before. That was
Cardinals
the
that was.
Cardinals. Okay, well, regardless of what it was, I remember that like it was such a big story that Strasburg wasn't on the mound at all in the playoffs. Who knows? I mean, if he would have been, I could have seen this team going far. Ian Desmond was really good at the time. Jason Worth too. I know you said he was hurt, but like he was solid for the Nats for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? We may have seen Harper go off early as a kid in the playoffs too. That would have been like Juan Soto. So
No,
you
yeah.
never know.
So, I mean, and even the bullpen, you had 4 different guys with ERAs in the twos. So, like, you were balanced there. They fell behind 2-1 the LDS. Then they won game 4. And then game 5. This was back when they were like cursed, quote unquote, and they just could not win a series. They were up 2 runs in the
Yeah.
ninth, and Drew Storen blew it.
Uh, I do remember that now.
And then the other like kind of trivia with Drew Storen I'll never forget is I think they picked him 10th overall after Harper, and they could have had Trout. So that's another what if. What if you had Harper and Trout on the same team? I mean, you could say there were a
Yeah.
bunch. I think 24 teams passed on Trout, so it wasn't just the Nationals, but still,
Yeah.
Drew Storen.
Mm. Yeah. The Yankees passed on Trout too. So
I
that
think
was
we all did basically, but
I believe
I don't know,
I
man. That would
believe
have
we
been
had the
so
pick
cool.
right before that too. The Yankees the Yankees had the pick right before the Angels picked Trout. So that was pretty bad for us. But yeah, I mean this team was good. I remember now like Adam LaRoche, that's a
Yeah,
name from the past, but man, he was really solid. Was this back when Zimmerman played third? I'm assuming then
probably.
because LaRoche played first.
I feel like Zimmerman's
Um,
been around in my entire life.
yeah.
He's just always
He
there
he hasn't officially announced his retirement, right? I hope he comes back because I love watching him
for old
play.
time's sake. I just hope he comes
He's
back.
always on the Nationals. He's just like there on the 1 year deal every year now. It's like Brett Gardner for the Yankees. Like he's just always going to be back. You
No,
know,
that's fair.
1 year,
Yeah,
4 million or something. So
even like
yeah,
Desmond. I forget Desmond had a pretty good run with them.
yeah, he did. Where is he now? Is he on Colorado still?
He might be
I don't even
retired.
know.
Like I
I don't
really
even know
don't
what
know
I
at this
don't even
point.
know what happened to him. Honestly, yeah. Um, man, no, this was a fun team. These were the years, like you said, like the Nationals should have won these playoff series, and then they kept losing them until they finally started to break that curse.
Yeah, and ironically, it's right after Harper leaves. I mean that's such an obvious one. Like everyone knows that, but like
yeah, it's very strange.
no,
What are
yeah.
you gonna do?
So we'll get to players now. So who do you remember from childhood years that had a good run.
Well, yeah, this is probably a guy who I remember more so in like the latter part of his career. But I'm gonna go with Aramis Ramirez. That's probably a name you haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, from the Brewers, right?
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. So we remember him mostly from the Brewers, but he
Mhm.
played 7 years with the Cubs. I'm gonna go from 2005 to 2015, which is when he retired.
That's a
So his
long run.
first from 2005 through 2012, I believe he was with the Cubs. Then 12, 13, and 14, he was with the Brewers. And then in 15, he was with the Brewers halfway and then got traded to Pittsburgh in the second half.
Okay.
But Ramirez was a really consistent player. Talking about consistent players, this dude, I mean, he averaged 130 games played over these seasons. So he did get hurt sometimes, but his average stats over these years was a 288 batting average, 24 homers, 87 RBIs, 853 OPS. From everyday third baseman. So that's you'll take that. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah,
great
no,
numbers for a
that's
third
really good.
baseman. He played pretty good defense too. And he played 19 postseason games. So 18 of those were with the Cubs. And then one game was with Pittsburgh. He played in the wild card game that they lost in 2015. The batting average wasn't there. His batting average was below 200, but he had 4 homers, 10 RBIs, and a 721 OPS career in the postseason.
Okay.
Again, we don't really remember him much from the Cubs days. I remember him more as a Brewer more than anything. I found it interesting that he actually didn't make the playoffs with the Brewers. I
I was
thought he
just about to
did.
say the team with like
Yeah,
Braun and Fielder and
yeah. I think Ramirez, yeah, Ramirez played with Fielder, Braun, and stuff like that. Unless he may have possibly been hurt
that, I feel like that's
when
probably
they,
what it is. Because if he,
yeah, because I
I
looked
don't
at
know,
his
I remember
numbers
those
and
teams being
like,
pretty good.
yeah.
So
But yeah, I mean, this was Carlos Gomez. I remember playing with Ramirez.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, over these 11 seasons or so, he was a 3-time All-Star, twice with the Cubs, once with the Brewers. He won a Silver Slugger with the Cubs. He had 4 top 17 MVP finishes. 3 of those were with the Cubs and 1 was with Milwaukee. He also led the National League in doubles with Milwaukee in 2012. He had 50 doubles. That's a lot of doubles.
Hmm.
So I think that's why his OPS was always so high. He never had like a ton of homers. Like he would never have like 30 homers or something, but
Okay.
he always had like 20 something homers with like 50, 40 something doubles. Like he was a really doubles guy. Um, he just knew how to put the bat on the ball. That's what I view him as. He just knew how to put the ball where it had to go, whether it was in the gap or obviously he would run into him. He averaged 24 homers a year, but
Yeah.
he had a lot more doubles than he did homers these seasons. I mean, again, I think probably his better years were with the Cubs, but when he was with the Brewers for those 3 seasons, he was really good. And then who knows what would have happened if Pittsburgh won that wild card game? We may have seen him do more in the playoffs that year than he had in the
Yeah.
past. I think 2015 was that the year that Pittsburgh lost to the Giants in a wild card game or
I
something.
feel like it was earlier. I
Maybe I
don't
don't
know.
even. Maybe it was the Reds that they played. Maybe it was that year. I don't
Okay.
remember, but I even forgot he was on Pittsburgh until I looked. I
No,
was
yeah,
like, I
I
didn't. Yeah.
totally forgot that.
But
I
yeah,
remember him. I mean, like just like a little detail when I would do like fantasy baseball drafts and like I would look at
yeah,
third baseman, it would always be like David Wright, Adrian Beltre, Aramis Ramirez. Like they're all just like grouped together in that like
yeah,
that. I don't even know what you call it, like the just the
yeah.
top
No,
picks. So
yeah. And like he was, I feel like he was a very underrated player just because of how consistent he was. Like
yeah.
he was never going to really wow you with anything, but he was going to go out there and perform every year the same way. So
Hmm.
that was my guy. Who do you got?
Do you remember Alan Craig?
Alan Craig. I think he was a Cardinal
Yeah.
for a
So
while. Yeah.
he had a very short beak. Like I'm talking like 3 years or so. But so 2011 to 2013, he's like their first baseman. Averages 312, 863 OPS. Didn't have a lot of power, but like he just drove in a lot of runs. 2013 All-Star game, postseason over 100 at bats. Had an 839 OPS. So like some big hits for them. Everyone 2011 World Series. I feel like everyone remembers like Pujols and Freeze. He had
Yeah.
Craig had 3 home runs in that series.
Really? Did he?
11
Wow.
1154 OPS. So like
Yeah.
he was big when it mattered.
Yeah. I feel like back in the day, I almost like grouped Freeze and Craig as like the same person because like they were
Yeah.
kind of similar players. Like, but I didn't know that Craig was that good in the World Series that year. That's kind of
No,
crazy.
I forgot he was on that team. So he has like
Yeah.
this 3-year run. Then like 2014 just like fell off. Well, when you combine 2014 and 15, 206 batting average, 571 OPS, and he was out of the league. Like that was it. At age 30, he didn't play after 2015. So just odd. Like he had this 3-year run where he's like an all-star.
Right.
And consistently good batting average. And I'm like, yeah, gonna do it again. So
I guess we've like kind of seen that happen to certain guys before, but like it's always strange when it does happen. Like
yeah.
I can't think of any names specifically, but like I know that there's been instances where this has happened before.
I think he was hurt a lot too. I think that was
Right,
part of
right.
it. But like,
Didn't he play with Boston at some point for like a little while, or
yeah,
was he always
I
with the
think he was
Cardinals?
traded to
Did he?
Boston.
Okay.
So like that
Yeah.
2014 Cardinals, I feel like I'm just forgetting years at this point.
Yeah.
Cardinals, Boston was the World Series in 2013, right?
Yes.
Okay. So he was still in St. Louis and then he went to Boston.
So
Okay.
he probably got traded the next year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe too. Where did he usually play? He
I
played
thought he was first or like right field. I think he like
right.
switched.
I feel like they started to move him out to the outfield sometimes, and that kind of affected his hitting, I think, too. I always thought so because he
Yeah.
wasn't an outfielder, and they kind of just needed to put him out there. But like this is another situation where if there was a DH in the National League, this might have turned out totally different.
Oh, let me tell you, I've been
Um,
calling for it for years. No. And
I bet
like,
Alan Craig was calling for it too at the time, to be honest
no,
with you.
right. I feel like honestly, the more I think about it, the Cardinals had some weird players like this where they just get hot for like a short run. Like Matt
Yeah.
Carpenter had some
Yeah.
good years and they just like forgot how to hit.
Yeah.
And then he had that crazy second half a few years ago where he
Yeah.
finished with like 40 home runs. I don't know.
I
They
feel like
just
that
had a few
happened with
guys like
like
this.
Paul DeYoung too. Had like a really terrible season last year, but like
Yeah.
2 years ago he was really good. I don't understand what happens to these guys. Like, I guess you could think of certain guys it didn't happen to, like Pujols or Colton Wong was always pretty solid. But yeah, I mean, but those I do remember those teams. I think like Wong was just called up, and it was like Wong, Freeze.
Yep.
Pujols may have been gone by the time Wong came up, but
I think, yeah.
Craig might have been there in 13 with him too. Like those are the guys I remember from these teams. I totally forgot about Craig though until you said that. So
Yeah, no, he had a good run and then he was gone after 3 years.
yeah,
So interesting how it happens like that.
yeah,
I'll close this out with stat of the week. I'll keep it in, wrap up 2021. I'll bring a stat from this year. Probably I've brought it up before, but Jacob deGrom, might have heard of him. Very good pitcher. Missed like half a year. This year he had more base hits as a batter than earned runs give up as a pitcher. Like just like
yeah.
that one sink in for a second. He had 12 base hits when he came out to plate and 11 earned runs. And it was 92 innings too. So it wasn't like
Yeah.
he had like 4 hits and 3 runs. Yeah, it was a pretty good sample size.
Yeah.
Batted 364. I'm telling you, like legitimately one of the best batters on our team when he was in the lineup that day.
Yeah, he was.
So
yeah,
closing out
that's a Mets
unfortunate
stat
note,
right
but
there. That's totally a Mets stat for now.
I mean,
Hopefully
just
the new
gotta hope
guys
he's
you guys
healthy going
signed
into next year.
Yeah, I know. Him and Scherzer, man, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna.
Oh yeah, no, we're going all the way. We're doing it. It's
Listen,
happening.
here's what you guys are gonna do. You guys are gonna DH DeGrom when he's not pitching. If the DH is there.
Like I don't know if you're joking or not. I will legitimately do that.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
He's as good as Ohtani. Not really, but average wise,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, that wraps up for us. It wraps up 2021. And yeah, we will we'll see you guys soon.
All right. See you guys soon.